Hey there, and welcome to my Lord of the Rings playthrough series. In this series, we're going to go through the first 3 quests that come in the core box, as well as the next 6 quests that come in the Adventures in Mirkwood scenarios. I will be playing this series not on normal and not on easy. I'm going to be playing in between. For easy mode, you give yourself 1 resource to start before you set up, as well as you remove gold circled encounter cards from the encounter deck. So I have given myself an extra resource for each of my heroes, but I have not removed the gold circled encounter cards, so I'm playing on a difficulty between easy and normal that's perfect for me. Yours might be different. You might like this on nightmare mode or normal mode or easy mode, but right between easy and normal is the sweet spot for me. I will teach this as we go along, but I'm not going to teach this all up front. If you want to know how to play from the beginning, go to Watch It Played, and Rodney Smith has done an excellent job teaching this game. I know the video came out many years ago, but it's still a great video. I will be explaining things as we go, but I'm not going to be explaining them all up front. So with that, let's head down to the table and let's get this started. So I found on ringsdb.com a deck that has the 3 hunters in it. If you're not familiar with who the 3 hunters are, that is Gimli, Legolas, and Aragorn. Now I did tweak the deck some, probably not for the better, but I tweaked it nonetheless, and so we will be seeing how this deck plays out, and we will be updating this deck as we progress through this play series, because in Lord of the Rings, the LCG, you're going to have to tweak your deck for each mission that you play, each scenario that you play, because one deck might be good at fighting or dealing with a lot of enemies, whereas another scenario you play, you might have to quest and travel a lot, and so you'll need to be tweaking your deck to fit each scenario. And I'll say between each scenario, I'll probably be changing out about 10 to 15 cards of this 50 card deck. So the majority of it's going to stay the same, but there are going to be a few differences, and I'll have a complete list of cards in my deck that you can see. So let's look at our heroes that we're playing with. Gimli has 11 threat, 2 willpower, 2 attack, 2 defense, 5 hit points. He's Sentinel, which means in a true solo game, that doesn't matter. If I was playing in a multiplayer game, he could defend for another player. Gimli is a dwarf, noble, and warrior, and he has a response. After Gimli is declared as a defender, spend 1 resource from Gimli's pool to ready another hero. If that hero is Legolas, he gets +1 attack until the end of the phase, limit once per phase, and he is a leadership hero. Next up, we have Legolas, who has 9 threat, 1 willpower, 3 attack, 1 defense, 4 hit points. He's a Sylvan, noble, and scout. His response reads, after Legolas commits to a quest, discard a card from your hand to ready another hero. If that hero is Gimli, he gets +1 willpower until the end of the phase, limit once per phase. And lastly, we have Aragorn, who has 12 threat, 2 willpower, 3 attack, 2 defense, 5 hit points. He's a Dunedain Ranger, once again Sentinel. Refresh action. This is the very last thing we're going to do at the end of the round. Once per game, I can reduce my threat to your starting threat level. And he is a lore hero. So what do these threat values mean for heroes? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to add them up. And for me, that total is 32. 11 plus 9 plus 12. So that is my threat. If this ever reaches 50, we lose the game. Think of this as Sauron's eye upon you, and the greater this goes up, the more that you have, the more presence you have in Middle Earth. So there's going to be more enemies looking for you, and once it hits 50, Sauron knows exactly where you are, and he's going to send all of his forces upon you. So we want to make sure that we keep this low. Next up, let's look at our scenario. The first scenario is called Flies and Spiders. And it says, you are traveling through Mirkwood Forest carrying an urgent message for King Thranduil to the Lady Galadriel of Lorien. As you move along the dark trail, the spiders gather around you. Setup. Search the encounter deck for 1 copy of the Forest Spider and 1 copy of the Old Forest Road and add them to the staging area. Then shuffle the encounter deck. We'll go ahead and flip this card over. The nastiest things they saw were the cobwebs dark, dense cobweb with thread extraordinarily thick, often stretched from tree to tree, or tangled in the lower branches on either side of them. There were none stretched across the path, but whether because some magic kept it clear, or for whatever reason they could not guess. This has 8 progress points that we need to get. If we get 8, then we get to proceed to the next scenario card. Our goal is to get through all of these scenario cards, and once we do that, we're going to look at the last one and see there could be a different winning condition, but we're trying to progress through all of these scenario cards. So per setup, we were instructed to place the Old Forest Road into the staging area, as well as the Forest Spider. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to get a resource for each hero, and these resources are going to be used to purchase cards and play them. We are going to draw a hand of 6 cards. We'll get to look at them. So we have a Sneak Attack, which is a pretty good card, which we'll go over later when it comes up. Ranger Spikes, so there's a lot of traps in this deck, which helps mitigate some of the cards that come out of the encounter deck. Deep Knowledge, which is going to raise our threat, so it's going to raise this, but we get to draw 2 cards, and it's free, so the cost of the card is in the top left-hand corner of the card. Celebrian Stone, which is good for questing, which we'll go over here in a little bit. Unexpected Courage, another great card. And another Unexpected Courage. At this point, you can decide to either keep this hand of 6 cards you drew, or you can shuffle them back in and do a mulligan, and you're going to deal out another 6 cards. But then that's the cards that you're stuck with. You can't choose two of these, shuffle in the rest, and then draw back up to 6. You have to get rid of all of them, shuffle them back in, and then deal another 6. So that is what I'm going to do, because there's one card called Steward of Gondor that I did not get that I hope to get. Alright, so we're all shuffled up. I will go ahead and draw 6 cards. 3, 4, 5, and 6. And because I have to take this, normally you draw these before you set up, but I wanted to explain the scenario first. So normally you would, during setup, if you're playing on easy, you draw your hand, you give yourself 1 resource each, and then once it's round 1, you're going to draw a card and then give the heroes another resource. So you're actually going to start the game with 7 cards. So we got an Unexpected Courage, which is great. Haha, Steward of Gondor, baby. This is going to help us generate resources, which is going to allow us to purchase more cards. We have a Gandalf, which is fantastic. Deep Knowledge, we saw this before. It's going to allow me to have card draw. Some more encounter deck mitigation. Some more card draw. And an ally. So there's different types of cards within the deck. There are allies, and when you play allies, they're going to stay on the board until their hit points go to 0, unless it's Gandalf, and he has a special thing that we'll talk about when he enters play. So allies will stay on the board. Their cost is up here. They have willpower, attack, and defense, as well as hit points as well, and they have some special abilities. You have event cards that once you play them, you spend the resources. This one happens to cost 0, and you place them in your discard pile, and you do whatever they say. And then you have attachments that stay in play, and they will come out of play either if this is attached to an enemy, then once that enemy is defeated, it will go back to my discard pile. But if it's an attachment that stays on a hero, unless an encounter card says to get rid of an attachment, if that hero were to die, then that's the only time it would go to the discard pile. So the first card that I'm going to play is Deep Knowledge, and this says Doomed 2. Each player draws 2 cards. So it's an event. I'm going to place it in my discard pile. I'm going to raise this to 34 because it said Doomed 2. And then I get to draw 2 cards. Another Gandalf. And an event, a Test of Will, which is a very strong card. I would like to note that with allies, some of them are unique. That's represented by this symbol to the left of their name. If they're unique, there can only be one in play at a time. So if I put Gandalf into play as an ally, I pay his resources. Then on the same turn or a subsequent turn, if Gandalf is still in play, I cannot play this Gandalf down because there's already one in play. So this little black symbol to the left of their name is going to symbolize whether an ally or a hero or an enemy is unique. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend 2 leadership resources to attach this to a hero. It does not have to go on a leadership hero. I'm going to attach this to Aragorn. So I need to pay my 2 leadership resources. And his leadership, because he is a leadership hero represented by this symbol. And then I'm going to attach this to Aragorn. So I'm going to slide it right under him. And then it says attached hero gains the Gondor trait. Action: exhaust Steward of Gondor, not the hero but the card, to add 2 resources to attached hero's resource pool. So I represent being exhausted with these little tokens, so I don't have to tap the cards. So I'm going to exhaust Steward of Gondor right now and give Aragorn 2 more resources. I am then going to play this Darren's Runes. It costs 0. It's an event. Action: draw 2 cards and then discard 1 card from your hand. So I got another Test of Will and another Deep Knowledge, but I had to discard a card from my hand. So while this is a good card, I'm going to go ahead and toss this from my hand because I like some of the other cards in my hand better. I'm then going to play this Deep Knowledge that costs 0 and it's an event. I'm going to have to raise my threat by 2, and each player draws 2 cards. So I get another Steward of Gondor and a Stone of Illustrium. This is an artifact, it's an item. When I actually purchase this one, it's going to go to the staging area, and I'm going to flip over cards from the encounter deck until a location gets drawn. That location is going to guard this, and I won't be able to use this until I fully explore that location, which we'll get to here in a little bit. Right now, the Steward of Gondor is a great card, but it's also unique, so only 1 card of it can be on the table at a time. And hopefully I won't lose this card, and so this is kind of a wasted card. So next, I'm going to spend 2 Spirit, which is blue, 2 Spirit resources to attach Unexpected Courage to any hero, and as an action, I can exhaust this card to ready attached hero. So I'm going to spend 2 from Legolas's pool, because he is Spirit, and I'm going to attach this card to Aragorn. And I think that's all I want to do for right now. This is called the planning phase, and that is when you're going to be playing cards from your hand. It's important to note that during this phase and this phase only, that is when you can play allies and attachments. You cannot play these during the other phases of the game. You can play events during the other phases of the game, but you cannot play allies and attachments. So the next phase we're going to progress to is called the questing phase, and this represents our heroes and allies journeying through Middle-earth, trying to get to our destination, going through this scenario deck. And so we need to explore through this encounter deck in order to fulfill our mission. So during this phase, the top stat, willpower, is the most important stat for 95% of the missions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quest, I'm committing to the quest Aragorn, and let's do Legolas and Gimli. And now Legolas has a response. After Legolas commits to a quest, discard a card from your hand to ready another hero. If that hero is Gimli, he gets +1 willpower until the end of the phase. So looking at my hand, I'm going to go ahead and discard the Steward of Gondor. Hopefully I don't lose this one. It doesn't get taken out of play. So I'm going to take a chance here and discard this. Doing so readies Gimli, so he's no longer exhausted, and it gives him +1 willpower. So currently I'm at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 willpower. I will then use an action to exhaust Unexpected Courage, this card, to ready the attached hero. So I'm going to exhaust this to ready Aragorn. That doesn't mean he's taken off of the quest. He's still providing his willpower to the quest. So currently I have 6 willpower, and there's 1, 2, 3 threat in the staging area. Our job during this questing phase is to get more willpower than there is threat. This little symbol here means threat. So currently, there's 2 plus 1 is 3. We're going to be drawing a card from the encounter deck. So we're at 6. It's at 3. We'll go ahead and draw. And we get a when revealed. This is a treachery. Okay, so treacheries are like events that you're going to do what it says, and then it's going to go to the encounter discard pile. The Necromancer's Reach. When revealed, deal 1 damage to each exhausted character. So looking at our characters, Aragorn readied up, so he's not exhausted. Legolas is exhausted, and Gimli is not exhausted. So only Legolas is going to take the damage. And that gives him his first out of 4 damage. So we quested with 6 willpower. It had a total of 3, so we make 3 progress on the scenario card. Once we hit 8, we will flip to the next card. And if we had 6 here and we made 6 progress, they would all go on this card. They don't carry over to the next card. So it's important to get threat, the symbol here at the top, out of the staging area. So one way to do that is going to the next phase called travel. Travel happens after questing. And for traveling, if there is no active location, you can find a location in the staging area. Here's a location right here. And you can travel to it. Sometimes it's good effects by traveling. Sometimes there's bad effects. So let's look at this one. The Old Forest Road. Response. After you travel to Old Forest Road, the first player may choose and ready 1 character he controls. And when we travel here, it becomes the active location. In order to get this to go away, we need to make 3 progress on this location. So we will place this here, and this acts as a buffer to the main quest. So next round, when we quest, if we have more willpower than threat in the staging area, let's say we have 3 more willpower, then instead of putting that extra 3 on the scenario card like we just did, we have to put it on the location first. So we need 3 to go on here before any gets spilled on over to the scenario card. So let's say we made 5 progress next turn. 3 of it would go on here, and 2 of it would go on this card. And that is the travel step, so I need to go ahead and, per the card, ready 1 character I control. So looking at my characters, I only have 1 exhausted character, so I will ready Legolas. And why this is important is because here in a second, we're going to be going to the combat phase, and so the enemies are going to be able to attack first, and we're going to have to defend and exhaust for that, and then the last step in the combat phase is us attacking. So if all of our heroes and characters are exhausted, we can't exhaust anyone to attack, so we want to make sure some people are ready so that we have people to quest, we have people to attack, and we have people to defend with. So right now I have all 3 heroes that are ready to go. The next phase in Lord of the Rings is the engagement phase. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at all the enemies in the staging area, and we have the chance to optionally engage one of them. So we can bring them down so that we can start attacking them. If we choose not to, or if we've picked our one enemy, the enemies are then going to look to see if they automatically come down to fight us. And what they're going to be doing is comparing this number in the top left corner to our threat, our presence in Middle Earth. If this number is lower than or equal to this number, it will come down and attack us. But if this number is higher than this number, then it's not aware of our presence yet. It doesn't know we're here, so it's going to stage it. It's going to stay in the staging area, which is good and bad, because maybe if it's a really bad enemy and it has lots of attack and we're not ready to deal with it yet, we don't have to. But the more enemies and locations that stay in the staging area, it's going to make questing or traveling through Middle Earth, making progress on our scenario harder, because there's going to be more threat in the staging area that we have to overcome. So it will come down from the staging area to our player area. And some cards have special text on them. So let's go over, this is an enemy card. It has 2 threat, which we've talked about. It's going to swing for 2 damage. It has 1 defense and 4 hit points. And it has a force effect. After Forest Spider engages a player, which it just did, it gets +1 attack until the end of the round. So for this round and this round only, it's going to get 3 attack instead of 2. So now we move into the combat phase, and I need to decide who I'm going to use to defend against this attack. I have two options. I can exhaust a character to defend against this attack, or I can leave it undefended. And when you leave it undefended, you're going to look at its attack value, and it's going to get a shadow. It's going to get a shadow card here in a second, which could possibly boost that attack value or do something nasty. And all of that damage has to be assigned to one hero, not a character, to one hero, and you cannot split it up. But by exhausting, you can then use your defense to try to stop some of that damage. So let's see this in action. So I am going to defend with Gimli. And remember, he has a special ability that says after Gimli is declared as a defender, spend one resource from Gimli's pool to ready another hero. If that hero is Legolas, he gets +1 attack until the end of the phase. Unfortunately, I don't have a resource in my resource pool because I used them all, so I can't use it to ready anyone. So Gimli is going to defend with 2. This forest spider is attacking for 2, and each time an enemy attacks, you're going to draw a card from the encounter deck, and this is going to go with it, and this is called a shadow card. You're going to take this attack of 2, and you're going to flip this over, and you're going to look on the very bottom of this card. And let me see if I can find one as an example. So let's say we flip this over, and this was the card we got for the shadow. Everything above this line you completely ignore. Even when revealed effects, you completely ignore it. All you care about is the text under this black line and where it says shadow. So this shadow card says attacking enemy, which is this card, gets +1 attack. +3 instead if this attack is undefended. So if we didn't spend any heroes to exhaust to defend against this, someone would be taking 5 damage, and that's enough to kill any of these heroes, which is not good. But anyway, the attacking enemy gets +1 since this is a defended attack. So instead of 2, it's going to be attacking for 3, and we can't forget that this forest spider gets +1 until the end of this round. So this forest spider is going to be attacking for 4 this round. Gimli defends with 2, so 4 minus 2 is he's going to take 2 damage, which is 2 of his 5 hit points. So I will place 2 damage on Gimli. I will go ahead and discard this shadow card. Actually, I just remembered that I used this as an example. This wasn't actually the shadow card that was supposed to be there. So I'll place this back where it was. This was the shadow card that we drew. So there was no line, and there's no shadow effect. So this forest spider only attacks for 3. So it attacked for 3, I defended with 2. So really, I only take 1 damage. See, Gimli, it's not so bad. All right, now that all the enemies have attacked, it's now our turn to attack. And so we can exhaust any number of heroes to attack the forest spider. So I'm going to exhaust Legolas and Aragorn, and they are going to pool their attack values. So Legolas hits with 3, and Aragorn hits with 3. So that's a total of 6 attack I'm swinging with. Looking at the bad guy, it has 1 defense, so 6 minus 1 is 5 damage that goes on this card. It only has room for 4, so this card has been defeated, and we will go ahead and place this in the encounter discard pile. At the end of the combat phase, we will go to the last phase of the round, which is the refresh phase. So each player is going to refresh all the cards he controls, so any characters become unexhausted. And any cards become unexhausted as well. We're then going to raise our threat by 1. And if we were playing a multiplayer game, the first player marker would pass, but I'm playing true solo, so that doesn't matter. And at this point, the players have an action window where you can take actions with characters or cards that you control. So if I wanted to, during this refresh action with Aragorn, I could reduce my threat to your starting level threat, which is 32. So I could, if I wanted to, reduce this to 32, but I want to wait till this hits about 46, 47 to drop this back down. And with that, we are ready to begin round 2. So we're going to draw a card. We get a Celebrian Stone. This is going to help with questing, because it's going to provide 2 willpower. And if this is attached to Aragorn, he also gains a spirit resource icon. Right now, All these resources in Aragorn's resource pool can only be spent for green lore cards. Legolas's could only be spent for spirit cards, and Gimli's can only be spent for purple or leadership cards. But if I put this on Aragorn, he can now spend his resources on both green and blue spirit cards, which is really good. I can't forget to give them resources. Gimli gets one, Legolas gets one, and Aragorn is actually going to get 3. He's going to get his normal 1, but I'm going to exhaust Steward of Gondor, which adds 2 resources to attached hero's resource pool. So I think I'm going to play this Stone of Illusterion. It is an artifact item, and it's guarded, and it's restricted. Some attachments have the word restricted on them, and each hero can only have 2 restricted attachments on them at any time. Right now, Aragorn has 2 attachments on him, but neither of them are restricted, so he could add another attachment. So once I get this, it's going to allow me to draw 1 additional card during the resource phase. So I'm going to actually spin this, or pay for it. I'm going to spin 1. It's a green card, so it has to come from Aragorn's pool. And I'm going to put this in the staging area. And since it says guarded by a location, I'm going to draw cards from this deck until a location is revealed. Any cards that are not location just go to the encounter discard pile. So this Mountains of Mirkwood comes into play, and once this becomes the active location and we put enough progress points on it to fully explore it, then that will free up this card so that I can attach it to a hero and we can start using it. I think I want to play a Gandalf. So he costs 5 resources. He does not belong to any sphere. So what that means is I can spend 5 resources, any combination of resources from any of the characters, any of the heroes I control, to pay for this card. He has 4 willpower, 4 attack, 4 defense, 4 hit points, and he is an Astari. And it says at the end of the round, discard Gandalf from play. So he's only going to come in for 1 round and then he's going to leave. Typical Gandalf. In a response, after Gandalf enters play, choose 1, draw 3 cards, deal 4 damage to 1 enemy in play, or reduce your threat by 5. So I'm going to play him down, and I'm going to spend 5 of Aragorn's resources. I could have split this up, but I don't want to. And so when he comes into play, I can either put 4 damage, I can deal 4 damage to any enemy in play, but there's none out currently. I can lower my threat by 5, or I can draw 3 cards. I think I want to draw 3 cards. So I'm going to get a Master of the Forge. He's going to allow me to find attachments in my deck. Another Ranger Spikes. And a Sneak Attack. And this one says put 1 ally into play from your hand. At the end of the phase, not round, at the end of the phase, if that ally is still in play, return it to your hand. We will see that here in a second. So we've played all the cards that we want to play, and now it's time to go to the questing phase. So we need to decide which people are going to go questing. So I think I want to use everyone. So I'm going to quest with Gandalf, so that exhausts him. I'm going to quest with Aragorn, that exhausts him. Quest with Legolas as well as Gimli. And I'm going to trigger Legolas's ability, which allows me to discard a card. I'm going to discard another Ranger Spikes to ready Gimli, giving him +1 willpower. So my total willpower is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 from Legolas's special ability. So we're at 10 right now. Currently, we have 2 threats sitting in the staging area, and we're going to reveal 1 card per player from the encounter deck. So in a true solo game, we're going to be revealing 1 card. So we're at 10 to 2. It is a King Spider. It says, when revealed, each player must choose and exhaust 1 character he controls. Oof. And he has 2 threats, so he will get added to the staging area. So looking at my characters, I have 3 characters that are already exhausted, so I will go ahead and exhaust Gimli. So looking at the staging area, we had 10 willpower. The threat on the spider is 2, and on the Mountains of Mirkwood, it's 2, so that's a total of 4. So we make 6 progress. 3 of it is going to go on Old Forest Road. Place that in the discard pile. And then another 3 is going to go onto the main scenario card. So we're at 6 of the 8 progress we need. We now have the option to travel, so we're going to keep on traveling, and we're going to go to the mountains of Mirkwood. So this one says, to travel here, we have to reveal the top card of the encounter deck and add it to the staging area to travel. And this has a response. After Mountains of Mirkwood leaves play as an explored location, each player may search the top 5 cards of his deck for 1 card and add it to his hand. Shuffle the rest of the search cards back into the owner's deck. So it's a really nasty travel effect, but if we're able to get enough progress tokens on it and fully explore it, then it has a nice little response for us. And more importantly, we can get this card, and we can get it. We've already paid for it. We just have to get it unguarded. So we will travel there, and we have to reveal the top card of the encounter deck. Caught in a Web. It's a treachery. When revealed, the player with the highest threat level attaches his card to one of his heroes. It counts as a condition attachment with the text. Attached hero does not ready during the refresh phase unless you pay 2 resources from that hero's pool. So this has to go on a hero. It can't go on Gandalf. So we will attach this to Aragorn. So that is a terrible attachment. The King Spider, going to the engagement checks now, has an engagement check of 20. Our threat is at 35, so it's going to come down and engage us. And we are going to give it a shadow card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to exhaust Unexpected Courage to ready Aragorn. I'm going to declare Aragorn as a defender, so I have to exhaust him. And he's defending with 2 defense. The spider is attacking for 3. And its shadow card. Whew. Nothing on the bottom. And this is a nasty treachery, so I'm glad to see this go in the discard pile. There's no line. There's no shadow effect. We ignore the rest of the card. So it attacks for 3. Aragorn defends with 2. So Aragorn is going to take 1 damage. I do not have any other heroes or characters that are unexhausted, so I cannot attack back this phase. So we will go ahead and move to the refresh phase and proceed to the next round. So Gimli will refresh, Legolas will refresh, I will refresh Steward of Gondor as well as Unexpected Courage, but he does not refresh while I have this attachment on me. I would have to pay 2 resources, and I don't have 2 resources, so I can't unexhaust him for next round unless I use this during the next round. But I can't start the round with him unexhausted. Gandalf is going to leave play since that's what his card effect says. We will move our threat to 36, and then we will go to the resource phase. Each hero will get a resource. We will exhaust Steward of Gondor to give Aragorn an additional 2 resources. And then we will draw a card. We get another Unexpected Courage. That's fantastic. So looking at my cards, I'm going to play the Miner of the Iron Hills. He's a dwarf that costs 2 green. He has 0 willpower, so he's terrible at questing. He has 1 attack, 1 defense, and 2 hit points. So he's not great on those stats, but this is what matters. Response. After Miner of the Iron Hills enters play, choose and discard 1 condition attachment from play. So we will put him into play, spending 2 green resources. And that means we get to discard Caught in a Web. So now during the refresh phase, Aragorn will be able to refresh, but currently he cannot. I mean, if I could choose to by spending Unexpected Courage, but he's not. He doesn't become unexhausted when I get rid of that card. I am then going to place this Unexpected Courage by spending 2 blue resources, and I'm going to play it on Gimli. And I have to spend 2 blue resources to do that. And then I'm going to, where's the card? I'm going to spend 2 leadership to put Celebrian Stone into play, which attached hero gains +2 willpower. It is restricted. And if attached hero is Aragorn, he also gains a spirit resource icon. So I'm going to do that now by spending 2 resources from Gimli. I'm going to attach this to Aragorn. So now when he quests for 2, 3, 4. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and exhaust Unexpected Courage to ready Aragorn. So we're done with the planning phase. Now we need to go to questing. So I'm going to quest with Aragorn. I'm going to quest with Legolas. And I'm going to quest with Gimli. And when I committed Legolas to the quest, I don't want to get rid of any of these cards. So I'm not going to trigger his ability because those are some good cards. So I'm questing with Aragorn, who's at 2 plus 2 from Celebrian Stone. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to go ahead and exhaust Unexpected Courage to ready Gimli. So we're at 4, 5, 6, 7. Currently, there's no cards in the staging area, so we're looking pretty good. We get a Forest Gate location. Response: after you travel to Forest Gate, the first player may draw 2 cards. Hey, it's not a bad effect. Okay. So we quested for 7 willpower. There's 2 threat in the staging area, so that is a difference of 5 progress that we get to put on the active location / main quest. So 3 of the 5 goes on to Mountains of Mirkwood, which says, after Mountains of Mirkwood leaves play as an explored location, each player may search the top 5 cards of his deck for 1 card and add it to his hand. Shuffle the rest of the search cards back into their owner's deck. So this will go to the encounter pile, discard pile. We get to now attach this to a hero. It is a restricted attachment, and the attached hero gains +2 willpower. And I get to draw 1 additional card during the resource phase. So I'm going to attach this to Aragorn. So now he's questing for 2, 4, and 6 when he quests. I will say both of these attachments are restricted, so I can't have any more restricted attachments on Aragorn, but I can have just plain old attachments, just not restricted ones. I'm also going to draw the top 5 cards of my deck. So we have a Woodsman Clearing. I can attach this to a location, limit 1 per location. When attached location leaves play as an explored location, the first player reduces his threat by 3. That's pretty good. We've seen this card. This one says, play only if you control a unique character with a Sylvan trait and another unique character with a Dwarf trait. Draw a card and add 1 resource to the resource pool of a hero you control. I love that card. Ooh, a Burning Brand. That's so good too. Attached to a lore character, while attached character is defending, cancel any shadow effects on cards dealt to the attacking enemy. And we have a Gandalf. I'm actually going to put a Burning Brand. I'm going to place that into my hand. And I'm going to shuffle these back into my deck. Even though I drew this card here, I can't play it even though I have the resources because it is an attachment. We are still doing the questing phase, and you can only play allies and attachments during the planning phase, which is the second phase of the round. So we made 5 progress. We put 3 of it on Mountains of Mirkwood, and the other 2 are going to go on the main scenario. So right now we're at a total of 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have gotten to that number. So we will remove all of the progress from this scenario, and we will move to the next one. 2A, a fork in the road. As you move through Mirkwood, hounded by spiders, the forest path forks before you. Unsure of what lies ahead, but spurred by the urgency of your message, you choose a path and proceed. Forced, when you defeat the stage, which we need 2 to defeat it, 2 progress, proceed to one of the 2 a chosen path stages at random. So there's 2 chosen paths that we will have to choose at random. We can now choose to travel if we wanted to, and I'm going to go ahead and do that to not only get this threat out of the staging area, but to get this really cool response. After you travel to Forest Gate, the first player may draw 2 cards. So 1, another Burning Brand, fantastic, and an Ancient Matham. This is great with card draw. Attached to a location. After attached location is explored, the first player draws 3 cards. So I will definitely be trying to place this on this location, maybe quest some hard, and get some more card draw. We now go to the engagement checks. There are no enemies in the staging area, so we'll just skip that and go to the combat phase. So I'm going to declare my Miner of the Iron Hills, who has 1 defense and 2 health as the defender. He's gonna die. The King Spider is going to attack with 3 attack, and then he gets a shadow card. Glad to see this card gone. There's no shadow, so he just attacks with 3. So 3 minus 1 defense is 2 damage. Sorry, Miner, you are going bye-bye. So he gets defeated and goes to my discard pile. I only have 1 hero that's currently unexhausted, so I will go ahead and exhaust Gimli to swing for 2. So 2 minus 1 defense. I will place 1 damage on the King Spider. Alright, with that, we are going to go ahead and go to the refresh step. So now Aragorn can refresh without having to pay 2. Thank you, Miner of the Iron Hills. Legolas is going to refresh, and Gimli is going to refresh. We will advance our threat by 1. And if we wanted to, we could take Aragorn's special once per game ability, but I'm not going to do that quite yet. We're still at 37, so I like where we're at. So we will go to the resource phase. Each hero will get 1 resource. I'm going to exhaust Steward of Gondor to get an additional 2 resources. And then, normally you get to draw 1 card, but since I have this attachment, Stone of Elistrian, I get to draw an additional card. And I get Arwen, ooh, fantastic, and a Forest Snare. We'll see that maybe here in a second. So looking at my cards, I think I want to play Arwen. She's a very good quester. She costs 2 blue, but remember, Aragorn is now both green and blue, so I can use his resources to pay for her. So I will put her into play by spending 2 of Aragorn's resources. Spend this 2. And she has a really cool response. After Arwen exhaust, choose a character. That character gains Sentinel and gets +1 defense until the end of the round. I'm going to spend a blue, a spirit, on Ancient Madam, and I'm going to attach this to that location. So once we explore it, we're going to be able to draw 3 cards. So attach it there and spend another one of Aragorn's. And I think that's all I want to do for this planning phase. So let's move to the questing phase. So I'm going to quest with Arwen for 2. And I get to choose a character to have +1 defense. I'm going to choose Gimli to have +1 defense. I'm going to quest with Aragorn and then immediately spend Unexpected Courage to ready him. So I'm at 2, 4, 6, and then I have another card down here attached that gives me another +2. So that's 8 willpower so far. So let's draw from the encounter deck. So I'm at 8 willpower. Forest Gate, we just saw this. Alright, so that is 2 threat, and now we'll go to the staging area. So 8 minus 2 is 6. So 4 gets placed on Forest Gate, the active location, because of this number here. So that will free this up. That it fully explores it. And then, since that's explored, I get to draw 3 cards. So Darren's Runes, a Woodsman's Clearing. Oh, there's a healer, Irith. So we made 6 progress. 4 of it went on the active location. That was serving as a buffer. And then 2 will be placed on a fork in the road, which clears this. So we have to move to one of these. So let's give this a shuffle. Let's see which one we get. The trail winds into one of the darkest, most tangled parts of the forest. You sense that a foul, dark presence is hunting you, and you move quickly in an attempt to avoid its evil. You attempt to follow a secret, hidden trail to avoid the enemy. Players cannot defeat this stage while Ungoliant Spawn is in play. That is an enemy that's in the encounter deck. It's a giant spider. If players defeat this stage, they have won the game. So I really need to quest hard. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to travel to the Forest Gate. And after you travel to the Forest Gate, the first player may draw 2 cards. So there's another one of those good cards I was talking about. It allows me to draw a card and add a resource to a hero. And this is an event, so I can play this now if I wanted to. And Asphaloth, who's really good. This horse gets attached to Legolas because he's my only Sylvan hero available. And I get to place a progress token on any location, either in the staging area or as the active location. So there are no enemies in the staging area, so there are no engagement checks. So let's go ahead and go to combat. So the King Spider is going to be dealt a shadow card, and we need to declare a defender. I will declare Gimli, who, remember, has 2/3 defense because Arwen gave him +1, and the spider is attacking with 3. So let's see what its bonus card is. No shadow effect. So it attacks for 3, and we defend for 3, and so there's no damage. I will go ahead and ready Gimli up by exhausting Unexpected Courage, and so now Gimli, Legolas, and Aragorn are all ready. So you know what? Let's go ahead and exhaust them all to attack this spider. So we're going to pool their attack. So 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 2 is 8. 8 minus 1 is 7 damage, giving it 8 total damage. It only needed 3, so this spider is gone. Great teamwork, fellas. All right, let's try to get out of here. So we need to go to the refresh phase. I will increase my threat by 138. I will unexhaust my characters and my cards, not just characters, but attachments too. And then we will move to the resource phase, where each hero will get 1 resource. And Aragorn's going to get 3 because of Steward of Gondor, and I'll go ahead and exhaust that. And then I get to draw 1 card for the resource phase, and then an additional card because of the artifact that I have attached to Aragorn. So right off the bat, I'm going to play Hiddenmouth Riversong. He costs 1 green. He's a Sylvan. Action: exhaust Hiddenmouth Riversong to look at the top card of the encounter deck. So he's a good scouting character. I can see what's coming. So I will put him into play by spending 1 green resource. And I'm going to go ahead and exhaust him right away to see what's coming. It's driven by shadow. Each enemy and each location currently in the staging area gets +1 threat until the end of the phase. If there are no cards in the staging area, driven by shadow gains surge, which simply means you discard this and you draw another card. So he didn't really help this much this time because we can't see what's coming up anyway. So we're going to play Adarin's Runes to draw 2 cards and then discard 1 card from your hand. So 1, 2. Another Hiddenmouth Riversong, which he's unique, so we can't play him anyway. So you know what? I'm just going to... I discard a card from my hand. I don't have to discard one of these 2 cards, but I'm going to go ahead and choose him. And then this other card is the one we just played. So I'm going to play this one as well. So I'm going to draw 2 more cards. Deep Knowledge, as well as a Lorien Guide. So I am going to play this one. It's a doomed 2, so I have to raise my threat by 2. Each player draws 2 cards. So I'll raise my threat. We're now at 40. But I get to draw another 2 cards. Favor of a Lady. This gives an additional willpower to a hero. And Leather Boots. Attached to a lore or ranger character. Limit 1 per character. After a location is revealed from the encounter deck, exhaust this card to ready attached character. So I'm going to play a Lorien Guide. She costs 3 blue, which I'm going to spend 2 of Legolas's and 1 of Aragorn's. And she has a response. After Lorien Guide commits to a quest, place 1 progress on the active location. Alright, so let's go questing. So I'm going to quest with the Lorien Guide. I'm going to commit her to the quest, and as soon as I do that, I get to place 1 progress on the active location. We only need 3 more to clear this location. I'm going to quest with Arwen, who gives +1 defense. I'm going to give it to Gimli. I'm going to quest with Aragorn, and then ready him right away. I'm going to quest with Legolas, and I'm going to quest with Gimli. When I quested with Legolas, I'm going to trigger his special ability, and I am going to discard a card. And all these cards are really good. I'll discard this guy, the Master of the Forge, to ready Gimli and give him +1 willpower. I'm also going to play an event. Because remember, you can't play attachments and allies in this phase, since this is no longer the planning phase, but you can play events. So I'm going to spend 1 leadership resource to play Sneak Attack. Action, put one ally card into play from your hand. At the end of the phase, if that ally is still in play, return it to your hand. This is a sneaky way to get allies onto the board during the round. So I'm going to put Gandalf into play just for the questing phase. And he has a response that says, after Gandalf enters play, draw 3 cards, deal 4 damage to an enemy in play, or reduce your threat by 5. So I'm going to put him into play. I'm going to reduce my threat from 40 to 35. And I only get him for the questing phase, so I'm going to quest with him as well. So I'm going to quest for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and don't forget that I triggered his special ability to ready him, giving him +1 willpower. So that's a total of 17 willpower. So let's start revealing cards. Well, we know what card's coming. Since there's no locations or enemies in the staging area, this is going to gain surge, so we'll draw another one. Oh my gosh. Welcome to the Lord of the Rings, the living card game. This is hilarious. So this is Ungoliant Spawn. So we cannot defeat the stage until this guy is dead now. If this guy had not shown up and we had quested enough to get 10 progress on that scenario, we would have won. But now we have to defeat him too. That's okay though. So we were at 17. So 17 minus 3. Well, before we do that, there's a when revealed effect. Each character currently committed to a quest gets -1 willpower until the end of the phase. So I'm going to spend a card called a Test of Will. Response: cancel the when revealed effects of a card that was just revealed from the encounter deck. So I need to spend 1 blue resource, and that has to come from Aragorn since he's the only one that has blue left. So I'm going to spend that. It does not cancel this card. It just cancels this when revealed effect. So I'm still at 17 willpower. I'm questing for 17. So 17 minus 3 is 14. So we'll put him into the staging area for a second. So we make 14 progress. 3 goes on here, exploring that location. And then 11 gets put on the main quest. And it only needed 10. So now all we have to do is kill Ungoliant Spawn and we win the game. If he had not been out, we would have won it there. So during the engagement checks, before we do that, it is now the end of the questing phase. Gandalf is going to go back to my hand because that is what sneak attack said. So Ungoliant Spawn is going to come down and he's going to come attack us because his engagement check is 32 and we're sitting at 35. So I am going to defend with Gimli, who's defending for 3. Thank you, Arwen. And Ungoliant Spawn is going to get a shadow card. So he's attacking for 5. Whew, no shadow effect. So 5 minus Gimli's 3. Gimli takes 2 damage. Also, what I wanted to do was I wanted to trigger Gimli's effect. So we'll do that now. It says, after Gimli is declared as a defender, so I should have done that before I resolved that attack, but that's okay. Spend 1 resource from Gimli's pool to ready another hero. If that hero is Legolas, he gets +1 attack until the end of the phase. So we're still in the combat phase. We've put that damage on Gimli. I will go ahead and spin this to ready Legolas, who gets +1 attack. So Ungoliant Spawn has 2 defense and 9 hit points. I'm going to exhaust Legolas and Aragorn, who are swinging for 4, 3 plus 1 from Gimli. So 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 minus 2 is 5 damage that's going to go on Ungoliant Spawn. And with that, let's move to the refresh phase. So we will refresh him, her, Aragorn, and Gimli. You know, looking at this now, I think I could have spent I could have readied Gimli with Unexpected Courage to then join that attack with them, so it would have had 2 additional attack. But you know what? I forgot, so we'll just leave it be, because I have another plan for Mr. Ungoliant Spawn, or Mrs. I don't know what it is. We will move our threat up to 36. Each hero will get a resource. Aragorn will get 2 additional resources for Steward of Gondor, and we will draw 2 cards, another Steward of Gondor, and a Forest Snare. So you know what? Gandalf's had enough of this. He came in last round and helped us quest, but now he wants to go ahead and finish this scenario. So we're going to spend 5 resources, and we're going to spend it all from Aragorn. So 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to put Gandalf into play. And this says, after Gandalf enters play, choose 1. I could draw 3 cards. I could deal 4 damage to 1 enemy in play, or I could reduce my threat by 5. So what I'm going to do is choose to deal 4 damage to 1 enemy in play. This ignores defense. Damage goes straight on the card. So he comes into play. 4 damage goes on the spider, giving him a total of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage, which is enough to defeat Ungoliant Spawn. So he will go to the discard. We will check our scenario, and we have 11 of the 10 that we need, and players cannot defeat the stage while Ungoliant Spawn is in play. If players defeat the stage, they have won the game. And just like that, we have won the game against Passage of Mirkwood. That's probably the easiest scenario ever released in Lord of the Rings, the LCG. So it's a nice confidence booster, but it's going to get much harder from here. Stay tuned for more videos in this series, as well as other videos. I make solo Automas in my spare time. So I like to find games with that either have beat your high score modes or don't have solo modes, and I like to create solo opponents for players to go up against. If you look in the description of this video, you will find a link to a Geeklist on BGG that has all of the solo Automas I've created. So if you like to play solo, then feel free to check them out. I hope you enjoy that, and I will see you in the next video.